A tired bird landed on a branch. The bird rested, enjoying the view from the branch and the protection it offered from dangerous animals. Just as the bird became used to the branch and the support and safety it offered, a strong wind started blowing, and the tree swayed with such intensity that it seemed like the branch would snap in half. But the bird was not worried, because it knew two important truths. The first truth, even without the branch, it was able to fly and therefore remain safe by the power of its own two wings. The second truth, it also knew that there are many other branches that it can rest on temporarily. That story tells us the basis of confidence. If the branch breaks, it knows it can fly. It can rest easy in its own understanding of its competence, its ability to handle failure, results, and unforeseen circumstances. And the bird also understood that the world is abundant, and it'll be okay in the end. It'll find another branch if this branch breaks off. These two things are the general factors we rely on for confidence. Many people look for that quick fix, that one twist in the mindset, that one sentence that will pop in their mind and suddenly they're confident. Like fake it till you make it. The rest easy in the thought that the world is abundant and you will always find another branch to go to. Requires a lot of mental health work. Requires you to let go of your resentment, self-hatred, and the constant anger and anxiousness from what the world can throw at you next. It also requires the time taken for you to experience things so that you can understand that you are completely able to handle failure, rejection, results, and handle yourself in a situation where you may not be prepared for. In a world drowned with safety nets all over the place, insurance plans, schools not allowing boys to play around because it could be dangerous, you can't play at the playground, you can't do this, you can't do that. The over-reliance of safety and the over-emphasis on safety has definitely taken away a lot of our trust in ourselves that we can handle situations that we're not prepared for, and it gives us very little chances to test our competence when it comes down to it. And with this heavy reliance on safety, we also take less risks and go for less experiences because we start to value the comfort a lot and we start to get addicted to it and we start to feel like we need it in order to survive. But the truth is, if you want to do anything in life and if you want to develop yourself in any way or grow in any way, we have to be willing to wrestle with the unknown, with the toss around, with the discomfort, the fear and failure. While of course we need the shelter and recovery sometimes, we must come to understand that sources of safety do not always last, just like how the branch could break at any moment, and the bird has to understand that it can switch branches when it comes down to it. Quick fixes like fake it till you make it will soon make you question whether you're deluding yourself and whether you deserve that confidence. And then it will make your confidence very, very fragile, and you'll find yourself constantly having to keep up that fake image, and it'll be very capacity taxing. And also you'll feel kind of ingenuous and quickly get very tired, or as people refer to it nowadays, your social battery would drain infinitely. If your belief in yourself is not dependent on your achievements, then what is it dependent on? It can only be ego and delusion. And if you rely on faking it till you make it, you'll crumble when you're tested and you'll confuse the hell out of yourself. If we asked our grandfathers and our fathers, how do you get over social anxiety? How do you become confident? They'll simply tell us, just don't worry about it. And then we'll feel what the fuck? You don't understand me then. You've never had to feel socially anxious. What the hell? They're old-fashioned and not very emotionally intelligent to, help me out with this. But the truth is, in their time, it was never really an issue. I mean, of course, there will be some terribly socially anxious people, but it's 10,000% not as widespread as it is now. It was part of their culture to communicate, to challenge one another with their tone, their posture, and their words. Social media killed this culture because it is more comfortable to communicate behind a screen. It's easier, and you're less vulnerable. Reliance on online communication will destroy your social confidence. If you find yourself avoiding an uncomfortable conversation and waiting until you have an opportunity to say it to them over text, then you are clearly addicted and reliant on online communication. Before social media, there are no over-consideration of boundaries. There's no overemphasis on protecting someone's emotions. People are forced to learn to communicate and posture themselves to survive amongst others. Funny enough, your parents' advice about just don't worry about it is the best advice they can give, because the issue of social anxiety now is so damn pointless and it's artificially manifested, which is hilarious, honestly. It's because they didn't rely on social media to communicate that they developed security in the decisions they make and the ability to risk being rejected, because they have so much more experience in social confrontation than we do. Social media enables liberal, radical fools to push their ideals onto you, and while you are growing up, tell you what's acceptable and what isn't. They push their ideas of what it means to be a good man, what you have to do, what is right, and you never get to figure that out for yourself. To maintain your perfect image, you box yourself in over time, and while you're young, you take immense pride in being righteous because it is what brought you love and it is what you were told. And biologically, you do not want to be rejected by the tribe, so naturally you foolishly listen without being critical, without considering whether you find it right. At a young age, we rob ourselves of the chance to figure that out for ourselves, so we live in the rules of others. Of course, now that we've grown up, we are able to critically examine the habits and thought patterns we have that tells us that we need to please everyone, that we need to be righteous, that we need to be all good, but good in the eyes of others, rather than what we find is good. And this twisted way of living makes us resentful, takes away our chance to polarize others and make good, genuine relationships, and typically takes away a lot of opportunities from us. I went on a whole tangent on social media over there, but this video is about confidence. My bad. Becoming confident is absolutely possible. Wherever you're at, I understand you're probably super socially anxious right now, but that doesn't mean you can't change. Some people have it earlier because they were raised well, or they were given a good environment to thrive and to test themselves, or they were simply accepted by the tribe when they were younger because of their good looks or their very well developed habits that is admired by other people, and therefore seeing that they are accepted by the tribe, they can feel at ease and confident. So maybe you do not have the best start. Being decisive, being confident in your judgment takes time to develop and takes a lot of tests to understand that you are capable of handling situations, to understand that you are capable of making good decisions, being able to puff out your chest, to rest easy in your body, to look someone in the eyes when you speak to them. All these can be practiced, and the confidence you so desire can be deliberately chased. Keep promises to yourself. That's a very important step. When you tell yourself you're going to do something, or you have to do something, and you don't do it, you lose trust in yourself, and then you develop self-hatred, and your self-esteem deteriorates. Invest in yourself. Confidence doesn't come directly from achievements, but they come from the sacrifices and the time you spend on yourself, trying to build yourself up and give yourself better things. Confidence is valuable, and anything with value is proportionately difficult to obtain. So be patient with yourself. Deliberately challenge your fears. Level up your confidence and your social skills by throwing yourself into tests. And of course, you don't have to instantly throw yourself into the deep end. It's very difficult for someone who hides in the corner of the room and whispers to themselves while they're constantly looking down and rocking back and forth in their chair, to someone who goes up and cold approaches a girl out of nowhere. You don't just develop confidence overnight. And in the game of challenging your fears, you're like fighting the Ender Dragon with a wooden pickaxe. It's just gonna take forever, and it kinda sucks. And you'll probably die and not get the cool end credit scene. Gamify your experience, chase the discomfort and fear that you can't handle in that moment, whatever state you are. Imagine all those decisions you've avoided, all those people you've avoided talking to because you were afraid, all those conversations you were afraid of starting because you were scared and anxious, but you felt like you could. You were only slightly afraid, but you decided to avoid it anyway because what's the cost? It's so what, right? It's just that one situation. But in this game, the progression is exponential. You keep avoiding those opportunities because you're afraid and you go downwards. But if you start taking those things that you can handle, those little fears, those conversations that are slightly scary but you could have done it, and this time around you didn't avoid it. You talk to them. You sit down in a lecture and there's someone next to you and you want to say hi, and you can say hi. You feel like you have the confidence to, but you decide not to because of that tiny amount of discomfort, and your confidence will just plummet. But if you choose to take that opportunity when you can handle it, even if you're slightly afraid, but you know that I've done this before, I can probably do it again, why not? Since I'm afraid, just go for it. And then you do it, and it becomes less scary. And the next time you do it, it becomes closer and closer to being less deliberate and becoming something that you just want to do. And you can do it with no resistance at all. Of course, maybe you are a bit more socially anxious than that, and talking to someone that sits next to you during a lecture is not the easiest thing in the world. Then perhaps you can start small, like maybe you struggle to continue a conversation when somebody talks to you. It's slightly terrifying to ask a question back in a conversation, but you feel like you can do it, and go ahead. Change the mindset to do whatever you can do within your sphere, and don't let those fears box you in. The little bit of discomfort is not enough to shake you. It's not enough to deter you from chasing that social confidence. Farm that XP. You're sick and tired of sacrificing so many opportunities because of your lack of confidence. You're sick and tired of not making new friends. You're sick and tired of not feeling accepted in an environment because you're always so anxious and always so closed off. You're sick and tired of being afraid to be vocal. You're sick and tired of being afraid to make jokes. You're tired of not putting yourself out there, not talking to that person you're interested in. How many more years are you going to waste? Start now and be patient with yourself. Confidence is a part of you that once you build will stay there permanently. That's why it takes time to build. So start challenging, start building the XP. I cannot wait for you to find the people you deserve, and I cannot wait for you to take those opportunities and finally feel at peace and finally feel so grateful for yourself that you face those fears and you are so many steps closer to who you want to be. And you finally capture those opportunities that you were always afraid to take. There's so much waiting for you. To a better world.